welcome to the 6th edition of the Historical Nugget Show. I'm your host, Pastor Jonathan Dubose Jr., better known as the Prophesying Guitarist. Let's get right into it. Many years ago, many people used to always ask me the question, where have you been and who you're playing with now? Well, brothers and sisters, there is one brother whose credentials are so impressive that I've asked him to share it with you himself. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, my friend, my brother, Mr. Andrew Gouche.
Long before I was a bass player, I was a singer. A lot of people don't know that. I started out singing in the choir in James Cleveland's church in Los Angeles. And in 1973, I saw Larry Graham on Soul Train, and I begged my mom to give me a bass for Christmas. And so she got me a bass. And during that time, James's bass player didn't live in LA. So there was no bass player at the church. So James allowed me to just sit on the side and try to figure out the songs. And that's where I started playing at. And eventually I started playing around town, playing at a lot of different churches around LA. It didn't take long. And then I started traveling. I didn't play on tour with James. I never did that until later. I went to Japan with this band, and we stayed there for 6 months, the R&B band I used to be in. And then we came home, and then we went to New Zealand for 14 months. And I came back and went back to Japan one more time in 1980. And then when I came back in 80, that's when I started playing with James. I did my first concert with James at the Paramount Theater in Oakland, and that's, a lot of you guys have seen that movie called Gospel. It's James Cleveland, the Hawkins family, the Clark sisters, and the Mighty Clouds of Joy. And if you see the dude with the shag on playing bass when they taking the sticks away from the drummer, that was me. And then eventually, I give James Cleveland the credit for a lot of my musical career because it all springboarded from him. That's how I met Walter. And then in 83, I went to Israel with James, and that's when I met Andre Crouch. And then when I was with Andre, that's how I started playing with the Winans. And in between all of that going, at one time I was playing for James Cleveland, Andre Crouch, the Winans, and the Hawkins family all at the same time. It was crazy. But then I started doing R&B. My first R&B gig was Cheryl Lynn. You guys remember her, Got to Be Real. And I did that. And one thing led to another. And then I went from there to Howard Hewitt. I played with Howard Hewitt. I played with Vesta. I played with Donna Summer. And then in 93, I got the gig with Gladys Knight. And played with her from 93 to 97. And then in 97, I decided I didn't want to play music anymore. Not play music, but I didn't want to tour anymore. So from 97 to 06, I didn't tour. And then in 2006, Shaka Khan's manager called me and said, Shaka's been looking for you. She really wants you to be her musical director. And so she said some words to me that nobody had ever said. She said, how much do you want? And so from 2006 to 2011, I was Shaka Khan's musical director. And then shortly after that, I stopped doing that gig at the end of 2011. And a week after I left the Shaka Khan gig, I got a call from Cassandra O'Neill, Prince's keyboard player. And she said, Prince wants to know if he can have your number. He wants to call you. And so that's how I played with Prince. So I've just been blessed, man, to do some really incredible things, and I thank God for it, because I understand that it didn't have to be me. There are many, many talented people all over the world that don't get opportunities such as the ones that I have, and I recognize that. And so I live in a perpetual state of gratitude, and my favorite scripture is Galatians 6:9, and it says, and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. God bless you.